Cardinal Luis Tagle has finally responded to the assault allegations made by Cardinal Burke, and a tense moment has engulfed the Church. This is not just an ordinary confrontation, but a high-stakes battle of wits between two of the most powerful figures in the Catholic Church. What really happened between Burke and Tagle? Let's find out. This confrontation, reportedly taking place in front of other cardinals, is unlike any other. Cardinal Burke, known for his traditional views, is said to have challenged Cardinal Tagle, accusing him of betraying the core teachings of the Catholic Church. Can Tagle withstand these accusations? Let's find out. Don't forget to leave a comment with a 1 if you sympathize with Cardinal Luis Tagle, or a 0 if you have a different opinion. Share your thoughts with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next, where we will reveal all the secrets behind this story. What makes this even more significant is the contrast in their approaches. While Burke is a staunch supporter of the Church's traditional values, Tagle is considered one of the key reformers, often compared to Pope Francis, for emphasizing mercy, humility, and service. According to reports from several YouTube sources, the confrontation began when Cardinal Burke directly accused Tagle of deviating from the core teachings of the Church. Burke, clearly angry and outspoken, is said to have made pointed accusations, questioning Tagle's commitment to traditional Catholic teachings. Witnesses described the scene as highly tense, with Burke visibly angry, while Tagle maintained a calm demeanor. What was the focus of this heated exchange? Reports suggest that the confrontation centered on the theological direction and teachings the Church may take in the future. Burke, a staunch advocate for traditional views, may see Tagle's progressive stance as a threat to the status quo, especially regarding issues like the Church's approach to minority communities and the application of social justice principles more in line with Pope Francis's vision. In contrast, Tagle is seen as a leader whose approach reflects the ideals of Pope Francis, a direction that calls for a church less focused on institutional power and more on pastoral care. Despite the tension, the incident did not take place in a private meeting, but in front of other cardinals, highlighting the significance of this exchange. The public nature of the confrontation shows that this was not just a personal dispute between two men. It symbolizes a larger rift within the Church. Before we dive deeper into this, I need your help. I'm aiming to reach 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I would truly appreciate it if you could subscribe and help me out. Tagle's response, his calm demeanor, and a music-silent statement. Cardinal Tagle's reaction to this confrontation is as noteworthy as the accusations against him. According to many sources, Tagle did not escalate the situation. He did not engage in a public rebuttal or retaliate with anger. Instead, witnesses describe him as remaining calm, clearly uncomfortable, but not retaliating. His silence, some observers argue, speaks volumes about his character. Tagle is known for his pastoral leadership style, emphasizing humility, service, and compassion. His restraint in the face of Burke's accusations aligns with these values. Rather than becoming defensive, Tagle is said to have remained composed, a move that not only demonstrates his emotional intelligence, but also underscores his commitment to the type of leadership supported by Pope Francis. a leadership style that prioritizes mercy over condemnation and understanding over confrontation. Reports from witnesses of the exchange note that, although Tagle was uncomfortable, he never lost his composure. His ability to remain calm in such a tense situation is seen as further evidence of his pastoral qualities. This trait sets him apart from many other figures in the Church, especially those who are willing to engage in public battles over doctrine and power. This reported confrontation between Burke and Tagle is not just an isolated incident. This is a window into the ongoing tensions within the Catholic Church between traditionalists and those seeking reform. Cardinal Burke represents the traditionalist faction concerned with maintaining the purity of the Church's doctrine and resisting what they see as the dilution of Catholic core values. On the other hand, Tagle is associated with the reformist faction, advocating for a more inclusive, compassionate approach to leadership that reflects Pope Francis's message. The confrontation is a clear sign of the growing divide between these two factions. The traditionalist faction, with Burke as a prominent figure, frequently expresses concerns about the direction of the Church under Pope Francis's leadership. Issues such as the Church's approach to the LGBTQ+ community, the Church's stance on divorce and remarriage, and the treatment of women in the Church are sources of tension. Burke and his allies often speak out against what they see as a weakening of doctrinal integrity in favor of inclusivity. The growing debate surrounding Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's handling of clergy abuse cases has attracted significant attention, especially as Tagle is widely seen as a potential successor to Pope Francis. Criticism of Cardinal Tagle's leadership in addressing clergy sexual abuse issues has emerged. Various organizations, religious figures, and media outlets have voiced concerns about Tagle's role in addressing sexual abuse within the Church, particularly regarding his actions or inactions in protecting children and ensuring accountability. These criticisms have become more pronounced as the 2025 papal conclave approaches, with some of the loudest critics emerging. Cullen's statements highlight broader concerns among some critics that Tagle's focus on pastoral care and his tendency to use non-confrontational language have caused him to avoid directly addressing the more difficult and controversial aspects of church management. Cullen, a strong advocate for child protection, believes that Tagle's approach has not adequately addressed the issue of clergy sexual abuse in the Philippines, where the Church's involvement in many social and political issues often sets precedents. Tagle also faces criticism from academia and the media, especially from those who feel that he has not been decisive enough in confronting the political and religious power structures that allow for abuse and injustice. Dr. Asionesis, a prominent scholar from Santo Tomas University, publicly commented on Tagle's reluctance to use confrontational language, particularly in the context of controversial policies under Duterte's administration, such as extrajudicial killings. Asionesis notes that Tagle's tendency to avoid direct confrontation or criticism of powerful figures has made him appear hesitant on crucial ethical issues like clergy abuse. He describes Tagle as a figure who often supports political correctness, shying away from difficult truths and seeming reluctant to speak out against both church leadership and government power. Assione's criticism is part of a broader concern among some observers that Tagle's leadership style, while characterized by empathy and moderation, lacks the decisiveness needed to address the Church's most urgent issues. Despite these criticisms, there are strong defenses of Cardinal Tagle's record. Particularly from within the Philippines, supporters, including many members of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, CBCP, have opposed claims that Tagle has not done enough to address the sexual abuse issues within the Church. They argue that Tagle's pastoral care has always been guided by a commitment to protecting the vulnerable, and they point to his efforts in promoting transparency and accountability during his tenure. Tagle's defenders also highlight his progressive stance on issues such as social justice, poverty alleviation, and outreach to minority communities. They argue that his leadership style, although more conciliatory than confrontational, still has a positive impact. They believe his humility and ability to engage in dialogue, rather than the lack of fierce confrontation, should be seen as a strength, especially at a time when the Church is struggling to heal and reconcile. As the debate over Cardinal Tagle's leadership intensifies, it highlights the complex nature of managing the Church, especially in an era where public scrutiny and media attention are at an all-time high. As a potential papal candidate, Tagle's record on sexual abuse, political issues, and his overall leadership style will be crucial in shaping his legacy. The criticisms he faces serve as a reminder that while Church leadership may be rooted in faith, it is also deeply intertwined with the political and social issues of the times. The emotional vulnerability behind his public tears. Known for his emotionally charged public appearances, Tagle's tears are not just fleeting moments of sadness. They reflect a profound spiritual sensitivity, the weight of responsibility, and a human heart that feels the struggles of others as his own. These emotional moments, far from being a sign of weakness, have made him an even more powerful figure within the Catholic Church, garnering admiration not only from the faithful, but also from people around the world. Cardinal Tagle's tears are closely tied to many profound personal and spiritual experiences. These emotionally open moments reveal how deeply he experiences his calling and relationship with God, as well as the emotional burden of his leadership role within the Church. This article aims to explore the layers behind his public emotional displays, including spiritual sensitivity, grief, personal struggles, and the heavy responsibility placed on his shoulders. Spiritual and emotional sensitivity, a leader with deep emotions. One of the core reasons Cardinal Tagle is often seen crying in public lies in his spiritual sensitivity. He has openly discussed his emotional nature, admitting that he is prone to tears, especially when faced with moments of grace, a deep sense of calling, or a spiritual mission that stirs his heart. He described how he becomes overwhelmed when reflecting on the great mystery of his calling and the weight of responsibility it demands. In his own words, Tagle explained, "I guess when you stand before a great mystery that you know is beyond your ability, a call, a grace, a mission, you tremble, and at the same time, you feel joy." This ability to deeply feel is not a sign of fragility, but of true faith. It reflects a leader who is profoundly aware of the sacredness of his calling and the importance of the mission entrusted to him. Cardinal Tagle does not approach his role with detachment or aloofness. Instead, he deeply feels the weight of it. When he sheds tears, it is often during moments of reflection on his spiritual journey. A journey that has led him to serve both God and his people with humility and compassion. His vulnerability in these moments connects him to those around him in a way that is both empathetic and inspiring. Those who witness these emotional displays do not see him as an untouchable figure, but as someone who shares in the joys and burdens of life, just like anyone else. It is this deep sensitivity that makes Cardinal Tagle's public tears so impactful. Grief and loss, mourning the passing of Pope Francis. Another reason why Cardinal Tagle's tears move the public is his reaction to grief and loss. After Pope Francis passed away, Tagle was visibly shocked during public memorials. His tears not only reflect his personal sorrow but also the shared pain of the Catholic community. The passing of Pope Francis, who was both a mentor and an inspirational figure, was a tremendous loss for Tagle, who had served under him in various capacities. After Pope Francis's death, Tagle's emotional response was widely understood as an expression of his deep relationship with the late Pope. He was not just grieving the loss of a leader, he was grieving the loss of a spiritual father who had guided and shaped his own path in the Church. Tagle's tears were not only his personal sorrow, but also a collective expression of the loss felt by millions of Catholics who loved and respected Pope Francis. His emotional vulnerability in these moments is evidence of his profound empathy and ability to connect with the faithful during a time of mourning. Tagle's response to this loss also speaks to a larger theme of shared human experience. In a world where leaders are often expected to maintain composure and steadfastness, Cardinal Tagle's willingness to express his grief publicly humanized him. It reminds the Church and the world that even leaders bearing great responsibility are not immune to the grief and sorrow that comes with profound loss. Responsibility and trust, the burden of leadership. After Pope Francis's passing, Tagle's emotional expressions were also interpreted as a response to the immense trust and expectations placed upon him. Tagle has long been considered a potential successor to Pope Francis due to his reputation as a deeply spiritual leader with great compassion. Therefore, the pressure and responsibility he now faces as a leader within the Church can be both an honor and a burden. The weight of these expectations can be immense, as the responsibility of leading the global Catholic Church is not something to be taken lightly. Tagle's emotional reactions, particularly in moments of reflection or public mourning, can be seen as a manifestation of the significance of his calling, a calling that requires him not only to be a shepherd, but also a source of spiritual guidance and strength for millions. These emotional releases highlight the internal struggle that many leaders face when the expectations placed upon them feel too heavy to bear. Tagle's emotional moments reveal the weight of a calling that demands not only leadership, but also profound spiritual strength. Have you ever felt the pressure of being a source of support for others? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about the silent struggles behind a strong exterior. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next unexpected moments. Tagle's tears reflect a deep understanding of the responsibility that comes with leadership, a responsibility that is sometimes burdensome and always humbling. There have been reports though not officially confirmed by the Vatican, that Cardinal Tagle has been seen emotionally breaking down in public moments of personal struggle. These moments are said to have occurred when he shared personal challenges, such as feelings of unworthiness, or when making difficult decisions like stepping down from leadership roles he felt he could not fulfill to the best of his abilities. These instances have been described as deeply moving and authentic, resonating with many who have faced similar hardships. In a world where leaders are often expected to display unwavering strength and confidence, Tagle's willingness to express his personal doubts and vulnerabilities stands out. These raw moments of humanity remind the audience that even someone in his position faces challenges and doubts, and it is okay not to have all the answers or feel overwhelmed. His ability to share these deep personal struggles with the public only enhances his reputation as a genuine and empathetic leader. These honest emotional moments not only reflect his personal journey, but also send a message to those who turn to him for guidance. Tagle's tears when speaking about personal hardships create a sense of solidarity for those who may be struggling with their own battles, allowing them to feel seen and understood. He not only becomes a spiritual leader, but also a symbol of humility, showing that even in positions of great power, vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. A leader who embraces his humanity. Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's public tears are not a sign of weakness, but a powerful testament to his humility, vulnerability, and emotional sincerity. His emotional moments are a manifestation of the deep spiritual sensitivity he brings to his role, the pain he shares with the world, the weight of responsibility he carries, and the personal struggles that make him human. These emotional expressions have endeared him to countless people within and outside the Catholic Church. Through his tears, Cardinal Tagle reminds us that true leadership comes from the heart. It is not about perfection or stoic calmness, but about authenticity, empathy, and the willingness to be vulnerable in the face of life's greatest challenges. In a world that often values strength over sensitivity, Tagle's emotional openness is a breath of fresh air, a reminder that humanity in all its beauty and struggle is what connects us all. How does Cardinal Tagle deal with criticism? Key aspects of his role as a papal candidate. As the Archbishop of Manila and one of the most famous cardinals in the world, Tagle has received both admiration and scrutiny over the years. From his stance on controversial issues to his actions during times of crisis, his critics have voiced their concerns, especially regarding his response to some of the most challenging topics the Church faces today, such as the clergy sexual abuse crisis and the controversial war on drugs in the Philippines led by President Duterte. Despite these challenges, Tagle's response to criticism remains a crucial part of his leadership role and will likely play an important part in his legacy. So, how exactly does Cardinal Tagle handle the heat? Let's analyze. Publicly acknowledging shortcomings. One of Cardinal Tagle's defining qualities in dealing with criticism is his acknowledgement of his own flaws. Unlike many in positions of power who may avoid or deny mistakes, Tagle has been refreshingly open about his shortcomings. He has publicly admitted to criticisms that he has not been strong enough or condemned enough, especially in the context of urgent issues like clergy sexual abuse and the controversial war on drugs in the Philippines led by President Duterte. Rather than avoiding these criticisms, Tagle has used them as opportunities for self-reflection and growth. This is not just about accepting mistakes, but also demonstrating humility in the face of public scrutiny. His acknowledgement that he has faced criticism for not being more outspoken on certain issues shows his ability to engage with his critics in a constructive manner. In fact, this openness to criticism reflects a deeper Catholic principle, a call to listen, reflect, and improve. One could say that this is an approach based on humility, a trait exemplified by Pope Francis. Tagle himself often draws inspiration from Pope Francis, who is famous for his "who am I to judge" attitude, emphasizing compassion over harsh judgment. For Tagle, this is not just a rhetorical gesture, but a core principle he applies both in his ministry and in his response to public criticism. Pastoral sensitivity, prioritizing healing over confrontation. Perhaps one of the most striking aspects of Cardinal Tagle's response to criticism is his pastoral sensitivity. For Tagle, addressing criticism is not about confrontation or harsh rebuttal, but about healing and reconciliation. When it comes to the issue of sexual abuse in the Church, Tagle often expresses how deeply the stories of survivors have affected him. Instead of blaming or further stigmatizing those involved, he has called for healing for both the victims and, from a more nuanced perspective, the abusers as well. This perspective, he claims, stems from his very Asian view on reconciliation, emphasizing healing over punitive measures. Tagle's approach to the war on drugs in the Philippines, a controversial issue in his homeland, reflects the same priority for pastoral care. While some critics expected him to make stronger statements against the violence related to the drug war, Tagle instead chose a more measured approach, urging both sides to seek justice and peace. This perspective is often seen as a balanced response, attempting to heal the nation's wounds rather than exacerbate divisions. This pastoral leadership style, prioritizing care, healing, and inclusivity, aligns closely with the Church's needs in an increasingly divided world. Tagle's response to criticism highlights his belief that the Church should set an example of forgiveness and care, even for those hardest to reach. Non-confrontational communication, diplomacy over conflict. One of the defining traits in Cardinal Tagle's approach to criticism is his non-confrontational communication style. In contrast to more direct or aggressive figures, Tagle is known for his diplomatic language. He is reluctant to engage in public debates or confrontations, preferring to foster dialogue and understanding rather than engage in harsh rhetoric. This trait often earns him praise for his ability to keep lines of communication open between differing factions within and outside the Church. However, some critics argue that this approach can be perceived as inaction or lack of authenticity. Some feel that his reluctance to engage in more direct confrontation may be seen as weakness or lack of resolve, particularly on issues that require strong leadership. His tendency to avoid harsh judgment and instead offer inclusive and diplomatic language may be interpreted by some as lacking a firm stance on significant issues. Despite these criticisms, Tagle's ability to unite and facilitate dialogue is considered one of his greatest strengths. His approach encourages understanding between differing viewpoints, making him a unifying figure in a church often divided on many issues. The future of the Church, Tagle's potential to become Pope. If Cardinal Tagle becomes Pope, his leadership style will likely reflect the pastoral sensitivity for which he is known. His ability to connect with people, especially those on the margins of society, will continue to be a defining feature of his papacy. His views on social issues may remain progressive, and his efforts to engage with the global South may further strengthen the Church's presence in these areas. Tagle's papacy could also mark a significant shift in the Vatican's approach to issues such as the sexual abuse scandal, economic reform, and interfaith dialogue. However, the challenges Tagle would face as Pope are immense. His ability to bridge the gap between traditionalists and reformists within the Church would be tested. Managing the finances of the Vatican, addressing the ongoing abuse crisis, and meeting the demands of an increasingly secular world will require a delicate balance of compassion, diplomacy, and strength. With the conclave approaching, many observers are betting on Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. His record as a compassionate progressive leader makes him a popular choice for those hoping for a continuation of Pope Francis's vision. However, as history has shown in papal elections, the conclave process is unpredictable, and there is no guarantee that Tagle will succeed. The outcome will depend on the complex interplay of political, social, and theological factors within the College of Cardinals. Cardinal Tagle may be the frontrunner, but the final decision rests with the Cardinals, an organization known for its surprises and intricate network of alliances that shape the future of the Catholic Church. The name of the next pope will be decided because it is still uncertain, but his influence on the future of the Church is undeniable. So, could Cardinal Tagle become the next pope? While he is currently in the lead, as history has shown, the papal election process is always full of surprises. The final decision will depend on the complex interplay of many political, social, and theological factors within the College of Cardinals. Everything could still change. What do you think about Tagle's chances of becoming pope? Can he face these major challenges and move the Church forward? Don't forget to leave a comment with a 1 if you sympathize with Cardinal Luis Tagle, or a 0 if you have a different opinion. Share your thoughts with us. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Click on the next video that pops up on your screen to discover more amazing content. See you in the next video.